Hello everybody, welcome to Belize Brewing Company, home of Belikin Beer, the Beer of Belize. Today you'll be taking a tour with me through our facilities. Let's go! My name is Nolan Michael. I'm the brewmaster here at Belize Brewing Company and plant manager. I've held that position since 2 years ago. I actually started working with the company in 1998 and eventually became the brewmaster and plant manager for Belize Brewing Company as well.
My father, Sir Barry Manfield-Bowen, started the Belize Brewing Company with Sir Vesseria Hondureña and his father, Eric Manfield-Bowen, in 1969. And the first beers were brewed in 1971.
Belize Brewing Company and Bowen Limited are, in my opinion, the most progressive company in the country of Belize. It is dynamic, creative. We stay on top of all new developments in the industry. We are looking at new technology at all times. It's an honor and a privilege to work for this organization.
With Belikin, as the Beer of Belize, one of the things we believe very strongly is giving back and having a social responsibility to the country. The logo for Belikin we started in 1969 with a contest. My father, not being a marketer, thought the best way to do it was just to put it out there and see what the public came up with. And the name Belikin was selected because it is a Mayan word. It means road to the east. And all the Mayans called Belize Belikin because you have to travel east to get to the sea, and you travel through Belize. The temple is from Altunha, and it's the main temple at Altunha, slightly stylized and reinterpreted by an artist. It grounds Belikin to Belize and the heritage of Belize, and being the Beer of Belize, we're very proud of it.
In this part of the world and in this region, a lot of the breweries are being bought up by the major transnational corporations. So we remain completely independent. As such, it allows us to remain in the realm of the craft brewers. We're one of the only brewers in this part of the world that remains completely independent. That allows us a certain amount of freedom to be as creative as we would like, to really be craft brewers. We believe the art of brewing, the little nuances that you go through in order to produce a high-end, high-quality beer are what makes craft brewing interesting. It's what your customers appreciate. It's what they're looking for. It's all of the different tastes and flavor profile that you can bring about when you're only producing small batch volumes like what we produce. It lends itself to you being able to connect with your customers on a very rapid basis. If they say they are interested in a certain flavor profile or a certain taste, we're able to respond to that very, very quickly and deliver a product, an interesting product for them, especially on the seasonals, something that nobody else have ever seen. It's the exciting part of brewing. When you tend to jump the line and become a commercial brewer, it's not that you necessarily are not any longer making good beer. You're probably making excellent beer, but it becomes a lot more commercial and economic oriented. People start looking at adjuncts such as rice and corn to substitute on their grain bill. And whereas it still produces a light flavor, for me, being a traditionalist, I actually feel that beer should be made from barley malt or wheat malt. Those things are obviously cheaper and deliver a specific flavor profile. But for me, craft brewing is the way to go. It's a beautiful thing to work in an environment like that, because it allows you to practice the art of brewing every single day. It's still here at Belize Brewing Company. It's still the art of brewing that we're practicing, and that's one of the great benefits of remaining a completely independent brewery in this day and age, where everything around us is being completely bought up by the large commercial brewers. I hope to remain as a craft brewer for a very long time, hopefully for the rest of my career. We love what we do. We think we have the greatest product out there, and we're willing to stand behind that product at any time. Well, every great brewery has to have an appropriate place to sample its beer. This is our version of that. Welcome to the tap room. This is where our guests come to enjoy the tastiest beers in this part of the world, in this hemisphere. Our flagship brand is Belikin. It is a traditional Pilsner German-style lager beer, about 4.8% alcohol, bitterness units around 20. Very light, very refreshing, but also very malty. It's a complete malt grain bill. Excellent tasting, very refreshing. Next on our portfolio is the Lighthouse. The Lighthouse is a lighter flavored beer in terms of malt flavor. A lot of people confuse it because of the name and think that it's a light beer. It is not a light beer, it's a full-bodied beer, a little bit less in bitterness, color is a little bit lighter. We also brew our own stout. The stout is, of course, higher in alcohol content at about 6.5%, very caramelly, dark, rich. We also have a premium lager. The premium lager is premium simply because we use extra special malt and caramel malts. If you really want a malty flavored beer, that's our entry into it. Also, in addition to that, we brew Guinness for the Diageo Corporation. Bitterness units, of course, all Guinness at about 65 bitterness units, very bitter, but well-balanced, smoky, caramel flavor to that.
We've produced Belikin Stout, Lighthouse, and Premium for a long time. And when Nolan became brewmaster, we thought the introduction of new seasonals would be a little bit exciting. We'd seen that the craft industry in the United States was really taking off, and we sort of realized that people liked something new for a small period of time. That's when we introduced Sorrel Stout.
The first seasonal brew that we brewed was called the Sorrel Stout. It's actually still a stout, but infused with extracts from a local sorrel plant. It's grown in this temperate climate, highly used for wines, juices during the Christmas season in this part of the world.
And in the West Indies, they use sorrel for everything, and we decided that that would be perfect in the stout to sort of bring the nostalgia of the season around. That was a huge hit. We moved into the second quarter and realized that we had a cacao fest. The Mayans are credited with discovering chocolate, and we grow a lot of the cacao in the south, in the Toledo district, so it seemed perfect. And Nolan's like, chocolate stout, we need chocolate stout. So we brewed chocolate stout for the Cacao Fest last year, and it was a massive hit.
We went completely pure organic cacao powder grown in the southern part of Belize. Very, very difficult to work with. Organic, oily chocolate don't necessarily go very well with wort or beer.
We used an organic chocolate that was not as fine as we needed it to be to go through the keg machines, and we were only kegging it because it was going to be a short one-off 2-weekend beer.
Needless to say, by the time I was done trying to process that through our facility, I was completely covered in chocolate. But we figured it out in the end, and the result is brilliant. It's a brilliant beer.
So after chocolate stout was a massive hit, we decided, well, we needed a summer beer, and that's when Nolan came up with the idea of Verano.
Verano is the Spanish name for summer. Very light, refreshing beer infused with some citrus flavor, a little bit of coriander, citric flavor comes along with that. A couple of other little spices in there that I'm not going to release the details of. I'm going to keep that hidden for right now, but very light and refreshing. Beautiful golden color came out in that particular beer. Having seasonal beers on our portfolio, I think, is a great thing. Our local customers are looking for exotics. What we found is they want us to dazzle them. They want to see something that they can't get anywhere else around the world. They want to be to have their senses and palate stimulated. That's what we're looking to do. It doesn't take away anything at all from our flagship brands. In fact, I think it enhances our portfolio. Our customer base seem to love it. Every time we launch a new seasonal, they run after it, run to the stores, pick it up, and it just makes them a little bit more excited about our entire brand portfolio.
We don't think it competes with our mainstream flagship beers. I think they complement each other, and we also find that we get new drinkers when we introduce a new seasonal to a particular portfolio. Women tend to prefer the Belikin Lager or Premium or Lighthouse, but when we introduced chocolate stout, we found we had a lot of women drinkers. So you kind of pick up a momentum when you introduce a seasonal and a little more excitement for the line. So that's how we do it.
The brew house that we're actually sitting in was designed by Nolan Michael. probably the world's foremost builder of brewing equipment. Welcome, let's go inside. Here to my left, you can see our storage silos. The malt that we use is imported from Canada Malting. That malt is shipped over and is automatically offloaded into our silos. Each one of these silos is capable of storing 50 tons of malt. We have 8 of them, including 2 smaller storage silos. About 10 to 11 tons of malt can be stored in those. Just behind me, you can see some of our laboratories. The one nearest to me is our micro laboratory. This is our initial stage of propagation for all our yeast, as well as we do microbiological analysis and cultures of our different contact surfaces. The lab furthest beyond me is our chemical and physical testing laboratory. We test everything about the end product, net contents, bitterness units, residual extract. Everything you could possibly imagine is tested in the lab furthest away from me. This is our central control room. Basically, all our beer productions are pre-programmed into our computers. We basically simply have to come into this room, hit the recipe that we would like for whatever particular beer, and that recipe is automatically uploaded to all our equipment throughout the entire production sequence. We are a complete all-malt brewer. There are no adjuncts, basically no rice or corn used in any of our beers. We're still brewing according to the German food purity law called the Reinheitsgebot, and it's something that we're very, very proud of, which basically states that beer can only be made from malt, hops, barley, water, and yeast. And we adhere to that as much as possible. We believe that that particular style of beer is what beer was meant to be. I had the entire wall redecorated with some of these woods. These are some of the most beautiful woods that are found anywhere in the world. The country of Belize was originally famous and was settled by pirates and buccaneers to export logwood, and as such we took a lot of those woods as a tribute to that heritage and placed it on our walls. Over in the corner you can see our Vera mill where our malt grain is initially crushed. This is our mash tun where we are extracting all the fermentable extracts that we like for beer. One of the sweetest aromas to any brewer. This is the smell you look forward to every day. Behind me to the right, this is our actual lauter tun. Again, all the pieces of equipment are built by the Steinecker Corporation. Over to my left is our wort kettle. At this point is where we add our hops, but we also conduct a lot of other reactions, a lot of caramelization and flavor generating reactions. We're also sterilizing the wort, boiling off volatile organics that are considered off taste and off flavors. We use both pellet hops as well as CO2 extract hops in the different styles of beers that we produce. Once the boiling cycle is complete, the wort is then transferred to our whirlpool for the extraction of trub, protein polyphenol complexes. Once that cycle is complete in the whirlpool, we quickly pass our wort through our wort cooler. The spent grain coming out of our facilities from our malt we actually use as feed to local farmers, cattle, pigs, many different types of livestock. There's still some residual nourishment in the spent grain, and it's excellent for cattle feed. We're now in our yeast propagation room. Right in front of us is our yeast propagation tank. The propagation process actually starts in the laboratory where we initially selected cultures of yeast. The yeast that we use is imported from Bavaria. It's a pure strain, of course, of lager yeast. All our beers are actually lager-style beers. We do not brew ales at this time. However, I'm not going to give away too many secrets. We might have an ale or two on the horizon pretty soon. Whenever we use any particular yeast in a batch of beer, that yeast can be recovered automatically in our system, and we can reuse that yeast after storing it in our storage tanks. Our standard is we reuse the yeast 4 times. We're now at the base of our fermentation tanks. The fermentation tanks rise up almost 3 stories. Our primary fermentation takes place in about 5 to 7 days. However, we actually cellar and lager our beers for up to 20 to 25 days, depending on any particular recipe. A lot of brewers are not doing that simply because it's kind of expensive with the energy you consume. But we believe that it produces a clean, crisp, delicious tasting beer. It's very traditional, it's a traditional practice, but we are very keen about keeping that practice in place. Right behind me, this is our Kisselger filtration system. All our beers are cold filtered That, of course, produces excellent quality, excellent stability in your beer. After the filtration process is complete, the beer is then transferred to our bright beer tanks. We have 6 bright beer tanks, each capable of holding about 350 hectoliters of beer. Once the bright beer has been stabilized, it's channeled across the piping system to our actual bottling line, which is to my left. Now, all the water that we've used in the entire brewing process is ultra purified water. The water source that we actually use is from the Belize River. It's a surface water source, excellent quality water, but we take it through an extensive purification process. We actually purify the water so much that we have to add back some minerals that are required for yeast growth. Just behind me, you can see our actual returnable glass bottle line. We actually wash the bottles using caustic soda detergent as well as some other additives. Bottle filling takes place with beer coming from the bright beer tanks. Subsequent to that, the entire bottle beer passes through a tunnel pasteurization system, followed by a subsequent inspection, and then to case packing in plastic crates.
The Belikin bottle is about 400 grams of glass. And the reason for this is because these bottles travel all over the country on less than ideal roads. They bang around, so they have to be strong. They make really good weapons. You don't want to be hit over the head with a Belikin bottle. The label is an ACL, which is an applied ceramic label, so it's baked into the bottle. So when you were ordering a beer and you get some very, very vintage-looking bottle and it's completely worn out, that just means it's gone through the system several times. The beer in it is perfect, and you can't get more environmentally friendly than that. Our distribution reach is absolutely every corner of Belize. We have a distribution network that deliver by truck, by boat, by motorcycle, by bicycle. We reach everyone. When you buy a Belikin in Belize, they will take a napkin and wrap it around the mouth of the beer and twist it into a stylized design. The reason for this is because the crowns sometimes start to rust, and the napkin, what you're supposed to do is twist it a little, make sure there's no rust on the mouth of your beer before you drink it. And you will typically find this in the islands because the beer travels out on a barge and it encounters salty air.
I want to be a part of something that I can look back at someday and say, it started out here, but we grew to something that not just us here at Belize Brewing Company can be proud of, but all Belizeans can be proud of. I believe they can already be proud of Belize Brewing Company, but there's always more. We've had a number of people come here that said if they could give any beer awards, we'd take first place. I would like to see Belizeans locally and Belizeans internationally, all around the world, be able to say, that's our beer, that's our brand, and we love it. That's my ambition every day. That's what drives me when I come to work every day, to hear a Belizean or anybody else be able to say that about Belikin Beer.
I left this country for high school. I stayed away for college. I was a photojournalist for years, an art director for years, and the tragic end of my father's life brought me back here. The experience of learning under people like Nolan Michael and visiting brewmasters and embracing the whole idea of marketing Belikin to Belize and being in Belize has been probably one of the best experiences of my life, and I'm not sure they're ever going to get rid of me.
I think this is the greatest job in the world. I think I have the greatest job in the world. The sense of pride I feel every day coming to work is uncomparable. I love what I do. Everybody here enjoys what they do, and they feel a sense of pride coming to work here every day.
Vaidaba, la ubia wananito. Vaidaba, dame.